have to tell you about how the pettiness of Ansel Adams nearly wiped out an important photographer from the history books and tried to downplay his style altogether. It's called pictorialism, and it was big in the early years of photography. They tried to make their photos look like paintings, which could be painting the prints or scratching or altering the negatives or making things look soft focus because they wanted to be considered legitimate artists, and that's how they thought they should do it. Well, by the 1930s, 40s, you've got Ansel Adams and his friends who are doing what is referred to as straight photography or realism. They want to depict things as sharply and as most like real life as they can. And they did not like these pictorialists, which was ironic because Ansel Adams was a pictorialist when he started. But anyways, the person who to them most represented pictorialism was William Mortensen. He was like the famous photographer of the early 20th century. He was a favorite of Cecil B. DeMille, and he had his own school in the Los Angeles area where some 3,000 students passed through. And so he did a lot of promotional things for films, and Adams loved to refer to him as the devil or the Antichrist because he did a lot of religious imagery and he did a lot of grotesques and things like that. And so there was this beef between them. But Adams had a secret weapon on his side, Beaumont Newhall, who was writing a book called The History of Photography, which became the definitive book about the beginning of photography. And they purposefully left out Mortensen. Now, they didn't leave out pictorialism as a whole because, you know, a lot of other important people practiced it, like Edward Steichen, and so it's barely mentioned. But Newhall himself loathed pictorialism. In a 1955 article, he wrote, "There is a long and dreary tradition in the history of photography of the misuse of camera, lens, and light-sensitive material to emulate what is better done with brush, pigment, and canvas. They laid heavy hands upon the delicate detail which a lens naturally records. By darkroom tricks they coarsened edges already precisely rendered." Yada, yada, yada. I mean, talk about gatekeeping. This was ridiculous, and Mortensen's work was nearly lost to time, even though he was so famous. But around the 70s and 80s, people started rediscovering his work, and we can find plenty of examples of what he did today. No thanks to Ansel Adams, who had no reason to shit on other photographers. He was well established even then. Kind of ridiculous. Still love his work, though.